We at Time Shifters hope that you enjoyed this rare and infamous moment that combines a first-rate disaster with genuine historical significance. But now it's time to take a deep breath as we prepare to temporarily reset you. Get your cars to Mars.
Hey there, I'm Christopher, and I'd like to welcome you to the Time Shifters podcast. On this show, Tom and I dive into movies and TV, mostly in the sci-fi, fantasy, and horror genres, and share our thoughts, reviews, and maybe a few tangents along the way. We always love hearing from our listeners, so don't be shy. You can shoot us an email at timeshifterspodcast@gmail.com, connect with us on social media via the links in the show notes, or drop by timeshifterspodcast.com to leave a comment or use the contact form right at the top of the page. So let's get Tom in here and kick things off. Tom, how you doing today?
Not too bad. Coming to you on, we're recording on Mother's Day.
We are, so belatedly happy Mother's Day to
Yes.
anyone who might be listening, or to just, you can pass along some well wishes to your mothers.
Word to your mother, yes. Because we're that old, folks.
I've been a bit busy with some stuff that has been going around here at home. Yeah. There's been some medical things. There's been, some good, some not so good things that have happened. I haven't done a whole heck of a lot. Have you been busy with anything?
Well, yeah. This was end of semester for where I work, so yeah, work-wise has been crazy. But on the other side of things, when I have time for entertainment, the thing I've been really digging into right now is the new season of Andor.
Oh, right, yeah.
Which has been actually amazing. Like Star Wars and Disney have had a fraught relationship. Depending on how you feel about Star Wars in general, I mean, it is what it is. You like what you like of it. You don't like what you don't like of it. And the TV series have been kind of very hit or miss. Mandalorian has been a fairly solid kind of Western kind of tale that went pretty well, whereas other ones, the stories are really kind of cheesy and not very well done, and you can give or take any of them. But Andor is a way different animal. You could almost take this out of Star Wars and still make it a fantastic thing. It is that whole notion of and it's very timely these days. It is that notion of what is it like to live in a society that is just falling apart because of its autocracy. And the notion that there is a government that is prepared to do whatever it wants to do for whatever aim it so has. So this is a storyline that drops all of the Jedi stuff. You don't see any of the known characters from other Star Wars stuff for the most part. They sneak in the bit piece, the B-level characters, things like this season we get a quick shot of Senator Organa. But it's just only in passing because he happens to be involved in the political part. But he only shows up for like 2 seconds. The rest of it is about the cast of characters that it's all very spy-oriented. It's all very, what does it take to put up a resistance against an unending juggernaut of an organization like the Empire. And then to see how something like we're used to the Empire being stormtroopers and TIE fighters and these hardcore fights, and you're getting what it's like if this is an actual real society. Like, you can't be, even in the Emperor's position, just go out, shoot up everything whenever you want, expect the entirety of a galaxy to get on board with that notion. So this is about the stuff that happens in the background to make it seem like that's an okay thing for them to do. They literally pulled together a group of people on the Empire side to have a planning session on how to destroy a world, but how to destroy a world in a way where you have to make nobody will care about the population on the planet before you get to the part where you're going to just take the planet. And you're going to strip it. Like, it won't be the rock that it is today by the time you're done with it. But you have to make the rest of the population of the known galaxy be okay with that. So that everybody doesn't just rise up all at once and come at you. And this has been absolutely astounding. It is just so well written, so well acted. It's bone chilling to watch it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. That's a hell of a recommendation.
Yeah. I'm surprised to be giving it, considering some of the Star Wars shows that have been out. But it is Star Wars can own that it's very much a children's fantasy. It's what it was always meant to be. This is not. This is very adult. Putting 6-year-olds in front of this, they will be bored out of their mind, but they won't know why. And it's probably good that they're not. Because you kind of don't want this to be the world that people live in. But they're also not hiding where they side in the world of today either, because they use a lot of the language that's being thrown around now as things not to do.
Understood.
Yeah, so, definitely worth a watch if for the espionage and all of that alone. It's just really fantastic.
Excellent. No, that's very cool. Yeah, I saw that just watching the recent episode of Doctor Who, and that was, Disney Plus has all the little, don't you want to watch this? Don't you want to watch this?
Yeah.
Panel, everything. And there's Andor front and center. So, yeah. I guess it's one that you can get into without having any other background and any other.
As long as you know what Star Wars is, you can't do second season without first. And first
sure.
was amazing, but what this is going to have the impact of is I am desperately going to want to watch Rogue One by the time this is over, because they are literally doing a countdown to that movie.
Oh, okay.
Because they use the timeline, even in this season, every episode more or less starts with where they are in the timeline, and they use BBY, the before Battle of Yavin, which is A New Hope, the very first Star Wars film. They are doing a backward countdown. So BBY, I think this season started at BBY 4. So you are 4 years out. And what's funny is, not funny, just kind of genius on how they released it. It's like a mini series within a season. They released the first 3 episodes right out of the gate. When they started it up for this season. And that was BBY 4. Then they released another 3 episodes the next time it came out, and that was BBY 3. And now you're in to a handful of episodes, it's BBY 2. And you're jumping ahead a year every single time you get to a new pod of the story, and it's really kind of cool the way they're doing it. So,
nice.
Yeah, I haven't been this excited about watching something. Like, I literally kind of go, "Oh, I need to get to the next episode."
All right, I may have to try to squeeze it in and check it out.
Yeah, and I imagine you did see Rogue One once upon a time.
Yes. Yeah, when it first came to streaming or Blu-ray or something, yeah.
Yeah, I think after doing this and then following it up with a rewatch of Rogue One might be a nice way to just tie it all together. And that's what's really going to be weird, is that is the more overall mature storytelling that you kind of hope for, especially at our age. You kind of hope for that. And it does elevate the entire franchise to where some of the other stuff doesn't.
I did think of one thing that I got into and watched it was I was curious to see what this would be like. It was a documentary from 1959 called Unidentified Flying Objects, The True Story of Flying Saucers.
Oh, really? From 1958?
Yes. 1959.
1959.
Yeah.
A
Yes.
theme for today.
Yes. So I was curious to see, how did they explain, or, I've seen things like In Search Of in the 70s. I've seen stuff on History Channel for whatever reason, up on this subject or whatever. So I was really curious to see, okay, the 50s, when it was like prime UFO sighting, what did they have to say about it, sort of thing. Not a whole hell of a lot. This thing is like an hour and a half long, but it is so drawn out. And I swear I had to double check and make sure this wasn't directed by like Coleman Francis. Because there's so much where you're watching these reenactments and it's telling you what you're watching. And it's like, Lieutenant Smith looked at it through the binoculars. He then passed the binoculars on to General so-and-so. Bob came into the room and...
Yeah.
Yes, and... None of this is important. We don't know why we're telling you.
Bob had pimento loaf for lunch that day.
Right. That's exactly how this thing was. I swear, I wish I was kidding, but it really felt that way. It was mind-numbing.
Yeah, no. The funny thing is that's just a trend. You can find dozens of those kind of documentaries where they're all much ado about nothing.
Yeah, that's really what it boils down to. And they have some footage, and it's this footage that makes everyone question. And they're like,
Does it?
really? Does it? Does this really say anything? I don't think it does.
And really, did I just sit through all of that to get to this?
Right. I think this has to be a film that was suggested for like Mystery Science Theater, and they probably went, you can't.
Even that one's too stupid for this.
Yeah. How many times can we make the same joke about them telling us about their day while they do these reenactments?
Swear you picture the bots kind of just threatening to throw themselves out of an airlock.
Yeah. It definitely would have been Mike trying to be Carol Channing again to try to survive. Yeah. But yes, really, really bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very disappointing.
I'm sorry for that, but you kind of... Little part of you had to kind of know, for this being a documentary out of 1959 on that topic, that's probably the way that was going to go.
I suppose. Maybe I did. Maybe subconsciously I knew exactly what I was getting myself into.
It couldn't have possibly deviated much from literally the movie we'll be discussing here shortly.
And, with that, I don't have anything else to really say or talk about.
No, it seems like a great segue.
Very much. So we'll take a break, listen to a promo for another podcast, and then when we get back, we are going to talk about 1959's The Angry Red Planet.
Enjoy movies like Carnival of Souls, The Mole People, Black Sunday, and The Tingler? Do you find yourself late at night reading magazines such as Film Max, Chiller Theater, or Monster Bash? Do you love vintage television programs like Sky King, Outer Limits, and The Time Tunnel? Do you find yourself surfing the net looking for the next monster movie festival or expo? Do you enjoy hearing anecdotes, cinematic details, and unusual insights into some of your favorite movies? If you answered yes to any of the above, you are encouraged to join your host, Vince Rotolo, as he examines some of the latest horror, sci-fi, and cult theatrical releases, new DVDs to add to your collection, and of course, the old classics, both good and bad. He even interviews people throughout B-Moviedom. So tune into B-Movie Cast at bmoviecast.com.
The Angry Red Planet, directed by Ib Melchior, from a screenplay by Sidney Pink and Melchior, starring Gerald Moore, Nara Hayden, Jack Crushen, and Les Tremaine. In the film, a crew of 4 astronauts journey to Mars on the first manned spaceflight to the planet. Contact with Earth is lost, and the ship is presumed destroyed. When the ship, MR-1, mysteriously appears in Earth orbit, Mission Control cannot make contact with its crew, so they guide it down via remote control. Only 2 crew members are found on board. During a debriefing, we learn in flashback about harrowing encounters with bizarre alien landscapes, monstrous creatures, and an ominous warning for all mankind. This is kind of literally the last hurrah of 1950s classic UFO-type sci-fi.
Yeah.
Ropey science, misogyny well in place,
Yes.
and a cast that you might be willing to send to the store, but never to another planet.
I don't know that I trust them to go to the store. This was everything I was expecting it to be and more. The only way it could have been more what I was expecting is if it had been directed by Roger Corman. Because it was it was 1950s formulaic sci-fi. It'll hit every mark every single time. You had your crew of 4, the dashing captain who is not dashing at all and is a pig. You have the elder statesman scientist who's just there for the science of what he is doing while he smokes his pipe openly on the rocket in deep space.
When you've got a pointy beard goatee, they let you do that.
Absolutely. You've got the femme fatale who's not quite as fatale as you might hope for, but yet she has enough gumption to have scientific cred. They still managed to even undermine that by pointing out she's the daughter of a famous scientist, so this is why you should know and listen to her. Like, if a man's not involved, she can't possibly be smart on her own. But she's still gonna scream at literally everything at all times. And then you have your dopey little mechanic dude that's just happy to shoot anything that moves.
Oh yeah, very gun happy.
Yeah,
with his
everything about
sonic rifle.
We haven't landed on Mars for 30 seconds and they all start breaking out the weapons. Like, you don't even know that anything's out there, but we're gonna go shoot it as soon as we see it.
Well, and there's even moments with that, on that theme, where it's like, oh my gosh, look at that thing that is no longer a threat to us whatsoever. Shoot it!
Right.
Why? Wait, why?
Now, before getting into all the fun on Mars, though, I had to also this is also why I felt this was so Roger Corman-esque, too, is the entire first third of the movie is comprised mostly of stock footage of things not having anything to do with what they say they're doing. Because you get the various military brass that's all talking about what's about to happen and all that. They have their little meeting and all that in a very nondescript part of the Pentagon, I assume. Even though we did get the aerial shot of the Pentagon beforehand, so that's of course where we were. And they immediately have to take off to Arizona or wherever they headed. So you get the stock footage of the Air Force planes and the stock footage of the air base where they park the plane that they just rode in, and then you get you get their little cinder block bunker where the actors are, but we keep cutting to footage of other military activities that you just know are not in the same room at all. So I'm like, oh my God, is this going to be the whole film? And even the shots, I was going to give them a little kudos too, because at least some of the stock footage they selected, not terrible choices, especially when they were doing what was clearly some sort of rocket launch that they just played it backwards to show the landing of the rocket. So they were trying with at least what they had.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But not a whole lot of things going on at that beginning of the film. Like, you could have written off the first third of the film and that wouldn't have taken away anything at all from the overall story.
I did like the introduction to our main characters. I think it was done through as if it were a newscast, and you had the guy explaining, who these people were and what their position was and all that. That was actually a smart way to do it without having to shoehorn in some line about who they are, between each other, or, well, you're the scientist from Harvard that went to blah, blah. And, yeah.
The standard other way that they would do that at the time.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, using the news footage I thought was actually really clever.
Yeah, no, that wasn't bad. It's still, as soon as you met the people, you're kind of like, this is your crew to go to Mars for the first time? Okay.
Gerald Moore has a more than striking resemblance to another actor, and the whole time I'm watching the film and my wife's watching and everything, I kept calling him Humphrey Bogus.
That seems about right.
Yeah, he is definitely a kind of like a Humphrey Bogart off of Tenmu.
Unfortunately, you can't even afford him at this point with the tariffs. But yes, no, he's just, that's interesting you say that. He does have that vibe, but yeah, really let the you're the kind of third cousin removed who kind of sort of looks like Humphrey Bogart.
Well, I think he carries himself as if he were Humphrey Bogart, and the way he throws his lines is so... His treatment of Iris, Dr. Iris Ryan, or Irish, as he insists on calling her.
I love that they thought that was cute.
Yeah, and she actually calls him out on it a little bit once.
Yeah.
And then he kind of does... What's his line? When I call you by your name, you'll know it.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is that supposed to mean?
And we're 2 people of 4 on this rocket. Is this really where we are going to have these conversations?
As I said, the science in this thing is ropey as all hell.
Oh, yeah.
The spaceship is... It's just a room. It looks like someone's basement office, except they got... I think they used... they actually did use some sort of seats out of airplanes.
Yeah, they used some aircraft seats. They had the Navy type ladder to go up and down to the other parts, because I mean, again, they are in just a straight up standard rocket. So I was struggling, especially when it lands at the beginning of the film, and the gangplank comes down on its own. Keep in mind, that's right where the engines were, but sure, whatever. And it's clear that I'm also loving, I get that it's a tight little set, but literally everyone is driving right up to inches from the rocket that just settled on the ground, where they were supposedly testing for radiation, but... Oh no, the door opened and I saw, oh no, that means somebody's alive. Screw the radiation. I'm like, really? So they do their whole thing, and they carry an actual stretcher into the bottom of the rocket. and then haul someone away. I'm like, aren't they at least further up in the rocket from where you're like, it was just, it was a little cheesy on all of that front.
I got a big kick out of the forced drama during Flight to Mars, where the meteorite
Oh, yeah.
comes flying by. Oh, we got a radioactive count, and they're like, all there, like, is it gonna hit? Is it gonna hit? Nope, didn't hit. Well, great.
Yeah.
It was 10 minutes we didn't need.
Right? And that's like early in the voyage. The voyage that also only lasts for like 2 weeks or something like that. So like, I knew the science was going to be ropey, and I know they didn't have as much as other movies had about Mars. But you can calculate roughly how long it's going to take to get to Mars.
The film doesn't set the events in any time period. I even looked when they did the newspaper. You see the newspaper about the Martian rocket returns and everything. I was like,
There's no date on it.
I was freezing, and I was looking to see if I could see a date.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this takes place in a future where our technology has allowed us to travel to Mars in just days, or if this is like an alternative now in 1959. I don't know. Certainly the fashion and the attitudes are well situated in the 1950s.
It's definitely late 50s. So yeah, and that's kind of where I was hanging my hat. I wasn't even remotely thinking this is somewhere in the far-flung future. We didn't bother to far-flung anything else, so why would we think that? But either way, they could have put a little more oomph into some of that.
It's nitpicky, I know, and we're maybe going to nitpick this film a little bit more than we should. Only because it was like front and center on the screen at several locations when they're going up that ladder, is that they gave them all uniforms, some sort of utilitarian or not utilitarian. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, utilitarian jumpsuit. It's good. That's
Standard
exactly kind of a standard coverall sort of thing. Like that makes sense and everything. And then you see him going up the ladder. You're like, and you didn't give your actors any footwear to match.
yeah, like
they're just dress socks,
pumps.
Loafers. Yeah. Our hero Colonel is just wearing brown dress socks with loafers on. I mean, they are just all shined up and everything. Not military boots, nothing. Just slip-ons.
Also, it's a nitpicky thing for me, having been in the military, but he had the top of his coverall thing open. There's no t-shirt. He's showing off what little of his hairy chest is there, but I'm like, just put on a t-shirt and make it look like you actually belong in the military or something. Like, you would have had to have. So I don't know why. The others seem to have a little something under their coverall, so he kept getting the impression he could just tear that thing away, and Irish was going to become Iris right here in that moment.
Yeah, and he did that so he could have that, on sitting on the control counter, while after he's wounded with his jumpsuit open halfway, like a hairy chest exposed. I'm the hero. He needed that scene.
Had to have his Kirk moment.
Exactly.
Before there even was a Kirk.
So they get to Mars. What do you think of the effect that they threw on for when they're outside of the ship on Mars?
Yeah,
they used what
the technique's called Cinemagic.
Cinemagic, yeah. What do you think of Cinemagic?
This is where I actually have to give them a little bit of a nod, knowing that they know nothing about Mars. They wouldn't have clue one what's up there at this stage. Only what could be seen through whatever telescopes were available at the time, which wasn't gotten you much. The notion of using this technology to kind of give that weird red hue to literally everything, and since they were creating this alien vegetation world kind of thing, I actually kind of dug it. I thought it was a fun way for them to do something that gave that Mars more presence. If only they had a way that they could have at least transposed that onto the window that they kept looking out, that you never got to see out of yourself. It was either blue, black, or red. Those were your options. And it was funny is it was blue while on Mars at some point, so that didn't go with their cinemagic thing. But if they had had a way to kind of give more of that eerie red-black hue that the cinemagic effect did, I would have gotten a lot more kick out of the window at least. But the rest of it, I kind of dug it.
Yeah, I like that they did that to kind of hide the fact that they're on a set. Mm-hmm. They didn't do we went to Death Valley and filmed our Martian scenes or anything like that. They were pretty much studio bound. And how do you make that look as alien as possible? And yeah, it probably hides a lot that if you looked at it without that solarization look, we'd probably go, that looks really cheap.
Well, yeah, especially the vegetation, and since as we move through the landscape, we find out the vegetation is more animal than plant, which is an interesting take on it, but this hides any of the defects in the puppetry and the plastic and all that they would have used to even make this set. So I think that worked in their favor.
I think it really did. I know the filmmakers were actually hoping to give it more of a 3D look, mm-hmm. which it really didn't, mm-hmm. but they were still in the end kind of happy with it. They liked what effect they got, and it allowed them apparently to save a little money because they were able to film on black and white and then put this effect in nice. Post. And so that was able to, it was a big budget savings to not be filming in color.
That's pretty cool. I think
for at least those sections of the movie anyway.
I think that worked out, and honestly, once you go, okay, they don't know anything about Mars, so we're just gonna do whatever. I actually kind of dug their landscape. Granted, they were leaning hard into kind of a combination squid, Venus flytrap feel for one of the creatures. And I've even seen some other stuff where people have proposed what life on other planets was like. So it was kind of interesting that they approach at one point what they think are trees. And it turns out to be the legs of the crazy looking bat-like creature that they put on the poster and all that, which was kind of mm-hmm. cool. It's
cool, but I find it surprising that none of our quote-unquote scientists look up.
Right, yeah, there is that. I mean, even when the camera looks over, we see only so far up, and okay, so it's a weird tree of some kind. And no one saw the head and body.
Yeah, but no, it was a really nice reveal, and I like the fact that, look, those are weird-looking trees. They look like anything else. They go up there, and then, of course, Iris goes and takes a whack off a piece of it, and then suddenly there's the scream, and they start moving. You're like, all right, that's an effective little surprise.
Yeah. No, actually, for some of it, as cheesy as it all is, some of the horror elements were not bad. It was better than when they were doing the drama parts.
Talking about some of the horror effects, towards the end, before they leave Mars, they're being chased by some sort of giant gelatinous thing that has come out of the water. And one of our characters gets pulled into it. Mm-hmm. And they do that lingering shot of him sort of falling into it and being sort of absorbed by this thing. That is absolutely horrific. The idea, if not the visual, is just because you're thinking, he's in an encounter suit. He's in a space suit, designed to protect him from, and we get the idea that whatever this thing is made of will eat through your suit eventually. Mm-hmm. So and that's horrific. That's like the idea of like the Sarlacc pit in Star Wars, where you're going to be digested for 1,000 years or something like that. You're watching this guy getting slowly pulled in. I'm like, he's alive while we're watching this happen. That's dark.
It really is kind of is. And since you mentioned the suits, I'm actually going to give them another kind of kudo there. As stupid as their outfits on board the rocket were, the notion that they actually thought that getting out on an alien planet that they might need to be in a head-to-toe suit with face shield and all that, and breathers and all that. Kudos to them. Again, they went on a planet where they just assumed plants and animals were going to be there anyway. The notion that they also need to breathe, that they planned for it, I was prepared for them to literally walk out of that rocket and just be on the ground, dude's in his shorts and a polo or something.
Yes, exactly. You're kind of waiting for it. There's even I think there's a line in there when they're in the ship and they're talking about the exterior. They're talking about the atmosphere outside, and they think that they're talking about like, well, it's thin, and I'm thinking, oh, here it comes. But we should be fine.
Right, yeah. No, so I was pleasantly surprised when they actually got into some sort of environment suit. I'm like, cool. So, but yes, then it leads to the darkness of going, okay, well, this guy got to sit there and watch his own suit break down before he was devoured by a thing that doesn't know any better.
Yeah, that was a very horrific scene for 1950s,
yes.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they couldn't make it any more graphic than they did for any other reason. They just didn't have the tech to do it. But yes, the notion that they're just sitting there watching it, that there's nothing they can do to help him. But they get an up-close and personal view of it.
I've seen a few reviews and comments about this film, and there's been a lot of people that get a real kick out of the fact that they bothered to take an inflatable raft to Mars. I guess we're still talking maybe possibility of canals, right? Maybe that's why.
Well, and I'm also, I really had to put myself in that, okay, they would have shot this in probably not 58. It's released in 59. We are not to the space race yet. We are not doing that. That's true. Yet. So that it's coming, it's close, but we're not really there yet. So we haven't really spent any time on anything related to space. So I'll forgive there's not going to be gravity. They didn't have to address whether or not they did anything to make there be gravity on their rocket. I'll give them all of that. I had to divorce a lot of known science to even watch some of the film. The fact that, like you're talking about carrying the raft up there, but I'm watching them also with their canned goods that they've gotten in the cabinet. The fact that at one point there's a bit of a drama because Sam has left his spacesuit laying on the floor, and she has tripped over it and dropped all of their glass beakers everywhere. I'm like, yeah. Oh, and all the sheer amount of magnetic tape that they are recording and stockpiling in heavy metal cabinets. I'm like, your rocket had to weigh as much as the state of Texas. And you got it off the ground. Kudos to you.
Definitely a film of its time.
Yes, it is.
You have to try to ignore the ridiculous misogyny. You got to try to ignore the fact that our colonel is like 20-something odd years older than the girl that he's sniffing her, after. And treating honestly like crap by today's standards, but I'm sure it was endearing in 1959.
Yeah, but he's treating her. I mean, she's supposed to be the biologist on the crew, and he's treating her like she's a flight attendant.
Yeah. How about some food, Irish?
Yeah, exactly.
But it is a fun film to watch for the effects, the visuals of Mars. The bat spider is definitely the star of the film.
Yes, no, it's that the one good, truly creepy creature.
Yes. And again, that has some good moments where Sam gets to use his sonic rifle and blinds the thing, and it screams, covers its eyes, and wanders like, gee, many Christmas. This should have ended any possibility of us going to another planet, because it's like we have no business being there.
No, none at all. And we'll get to the message here in a minute. But I wanted to touch real quick on interesting way they go about telling this story too. Like everything is in flashback, and they even have to resort to some sort of chemical manipulation of Iris in order to get her to remember, because it's so traumatic that they blocked it out. So
I'd actually kind of like to see like a remake of this story that might actually suggest that we do not have a reliable narrator.
Yeah.
Because she is telling the story in a state of shock, under drug-induced, memory recovery. We don't know if this is really what it looked like, really what happened. So that would be interesting.
Yeah, and you almost want to tell that in long form, because you want to get the inaccurate version and then force a reason to have to go back and find out it's not quite the way it was. I don't know. You could play with that idea a bit, but I thought this was interesting that that's how they chose to layer out this story. It's first just a rescue. Now it's a rescue, but two people are gone. One is injured and not awake, and the other one is incoherent at all. And then it keeps unfolding that way. I thought that was kind of an interesting way to go about telling this story.
I do like that they gave Dr. Ryan, Iris there, I like that they gave her a chance of a little bit of redemption towards the end and a little bit of agency. She's telling this whole story. She's in shock. She's in bed. You get the feeling that she has just been put through the ringer, and then she finds out that they're having no luck curing Colonel O'Bannon. He was touched by that sea creature, and his arm is covered in some green slime.
Yeah.
They've had no luck, and they've been able to slow it down, but they can't stop it, and eventually it's going to kill him. And she says, "Get me out of bed."
Yeah.
And she goes to work. I liked that.
I did, yeah, especially with the level of misogyny you saw throughout, and the fact that they kept qualifying the fact that she might know anything. The fact that once she was able to recover the memory of what had happened and what they were fighting against, that gave her the tools she needed to know how to help him. Of course, me putting myself in 1959, I'm like, why didn't you just cut his arm off? Come on.
Amputate it.
That's been the standard rule since, 1865? Something's wrong with you, cut off the limb. So, considering where they were at and depending on how that was going, I would have thought that might have been the first thing they might have done.
Yeah, no, that's good. I hadn't thought of that, but you're absolutely right. Amputation definitely would have been on the table.
But Fogart wouldn't have gone for that.
No. No, but a fun watch.
Yes.
It's been a long time. I've seen it before. It's been forever. I didn't remember. I remembered bits of it. I didn't remember effectively, from beginning to end sort of thing. So, yeah, a lot of fun to rewatch and revisit it. And I'm glad because I know this is a first-time watch for you, and you were just looking for ridiculous 50s monster on Mars.
And I got it.
And it was delivered. I'm happy.
It was delivered, and it was delivered in a fun way. I mean, you can easily forgive everything that's wrong with it. Just have the mindless fun that was. I could so see that being a fun watch at a drive-in the summer of '59.
Oh, absolutely. I'd go and see it at a drive-in today. It would be a fun one.
Yeah, it still would, yes. You might not get quite the scream cuddle factor that you hope for, that you would have gotten out of '59.
I only got a couple short social media comments on this. Stan Hutchins from Facebook says that the Bat Rat Spider is the highlight.
It is, yes.
It is, absolutely. Daryl Clark from over on Mastodon, he says he watched this one with Island of Terror when I was 5-ish years old. I had nightmares for years afterwards about jelly jam monsters. Having experienced Island of Terror, I understand that. I don't know if that's a film that you've seen, Tom.
Sounds familiar. It would have been a long time ago watch, so...
Yeah, I don't think we've covered it here on the show.
Not while I've been with the show now.
Okay, yeah. But I experienced that movie in my younger days on like a UHF viewing, and it haunted me for years before I found out what that film was and could revisit it and kind of, lay it to rest.
Find out it's not quite the scare factor that you were expecting.
No, that's probably not. And honestly, it's a little bit of that is an interesting double bill, even for the drive-in, because it's two very different films, both a little sci-fi and a little horror, but outside of that, very different. No theme between those two, no connecting tissue at all.
Well, still make for a good watch.
Yeah, it would. So, did you find any criticisms of the day?
Shockingly, this was a little hard to do. I'm just going to thank Wiki for collecting what they could from the day, even of their entries. Two of them were more modern takes. So, from the era, though, there was some comments. There was a fairly overall negative review. That's how they couched it. They only took the one snippet. This is from a Eugene Archer for the New York Times. He said, a cardboard illustration from Flash Gordon is more or less his overall perspective on the entire film. It's just it's too derivative and too fake looking for him, which I don't know what he's expecting. And then from Motion Picture Daily of the day from Samuel D. Burns, gives a far more positive review, mentions a stimulating experience in suspense and intrigue. Really described the cinemagic effect as a well-conceived optical effect for dramatic impact, and then goes on to say, everything seen or experienced outside of the spaceship on Mars is depicted in the cinemagic process to symbolize a concept of nature on another planet. The rest of the film's action and background is printed in the normal fashion. Stanley Cortez delivered an expert job of camera work in marking the debut of the new Eastman 5250 color, bringing into sharp focus the soft, effective color tones of the film. Interesting to get that perspective, considering I'm sure it was state-of-the-art at the time. To us, it looks like a grainy TV episode. Paul Dunlap's music contributed its share of mounting interest, and I'm going to touch on that in a second, and suspense in the subject matter for the producers Sid Pink and Norman Marrar, however you say that. Interesting points on the music, because of course it was all fairly standard sci-fi drama kind of tone throughout the film, and then you get to the end credits. It plays itself out like I don't know, like like a variety show tune off of something that would have been produced at the time. It's just too upbeat, too weird going during the credits. Even during the credit sequence, I was taken aback that they actually re-showed clips from the movie during the first outro part of the credits till you run the main credits. But the music got real goofy right at the end. So, like, I was laughing my way out of the film.
Oh, nice. I honestly, I don't recall. I didn't make note of it.
You should revisit the end credits just long enough to listen to the music and go, yeah, that doesn't fit. But yeah, that's what I could pull. Trying to get anything else from the time was kind of tough.
All right. Oh, understood. But yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I had a good time watching it too, and I'm glad you did as well.
Yes, no, it's fun to visit these old ones where clearly it's almost more fun at times when they don't know any better. There's a lot, and you have to kind of give it. There's a lot on current filmmakers because the more that science and technology progresses, if you're gonna ignore it, that's to your detriment. You're going to ruin the experience the more that we know. So when you come from a time period where they just wouldn't have, it gets to be far more fantastical, and you can have a little fun at its expense today, while still recognizing that was probably pretty cool at the time.
Absolutely. We have seen some films where by the time the film had been made, we knew that this wasn't the way it was, and they just went, yeah, well, that's not fun, so we'll erase 10 years of scientific advancement and make our movie anyway. And so now when you go back and watch it, it's like, well, that's silly. Yeah.
Today we would call those period pieces. How do you want to get out of knowing the things that you know? Say it came from about 10 years earlier.
All right. Well, anything else you wanted to mention about Angry Red Planet?
No, it was. If you haven't had the pleasure and need something silly where you could just really kind of enjoy the fact that it's going to be a goofy sci-fi film intended to be kind of a scare back in the day, it's definitely worth your time.
Absolutely. Next time when we come back, we're going to go check out Tom picked it. He couldn't resist it when he discovered it was a Katie Sackhoff film. We're going to watch 2036 Origins Unknown from Katie. 2018.
Love me some Katie, so this should be fun.
I hope so. I don't remember if I've watched this film or I've heard about this film, and well, I guess we'll find out all about it in a couple weeks.
The preview that I saw screams cheesy sci-fi, like Sci-Fi Channel sci-fi film. Maybe not quite that bad, but even if it is, still kind of looking forward to it.
All right, very good. Well, thanks everyone for listening to the Time Shifters podcast. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode, whether it's feedback, questions, or just something you want to share. You can reach out via email or drop a comment on any of our social media posts. Just follow the link in the show notes or head to timeshifterspodcast.com.
If you've got a moment, please consider leaving a rating or review. It really helps more people discover the show, and who knows, they might become listeners too.
If you're feeling extra generous, you can toss a little support our way at Ko-fi.com/TSPOE podcasts. Every bit goes towards web hosting and production costs. This show will always be free, but any help is truly appreciated.
Or, if you'd rather get something cool for your support, check out our merch at TeePublic or Dashery. Links are in the show notes and on our site. You'll be helping us out and supporting some awesome independent artists at the same time.
That's going to do it for this episode. Thanks again, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
See ya.